There are hundreds of different climbing shoes, but they all have some characteristics that are similar to each other. One of the main ones being the rubber on the shoe. This rubber is made specifically for climbing on a rock. It's more sticky than rubber that you'll find on a typical tennis shoe, and they are made to be tight-fitting and snug around your foot, so that way you have more sensitivity on the rock and your foot doesn't slip around. From shoe to shoe, you'll see that they have different characteristics depending on the climb that you're doing. Some shoes are better for different areas. In places like Yosemite Valley, where climbing shoes originated, they're often standing on edges the size of a dime, and so those shoes are really stiff. Whereas in modern day climbing competitions, shoes are more flexible and soft and made to have rubber that covers a large surface area to stand on big holds. If you look behind me on this wall, you can see lots of little empty pockets, and those pockets are really common throughout Iowa. If you have a really big pocket, then you can basically put any shoe inside of it. But some pockets are really small, and that's why having good sensitivity in the toe of your foot is really important, so you can put it inside those small pockets and feel confident that you won't slip off of them. This is called the Veloce, and it's made by an Italian company, Scarpa. The toe here comes to a pretty distinct point right at the center, and you'll see that's pretty typical on many other climbing shoes. The reason climbing shoes come to a very distinct point is so that you can put all the pressure of your foot on one specific area, draw a lot of power to that area, and be able to trust it. The other thing that many climbing shoes have is rubber around the heel. So that way you can place your heel on top of the rock and pull on that too for moves such as heel hooks. Climbing shoes can be thought of as tools in a toolbox. You have to pick the right tool for the job. In order to know what shoe is best, it's first a good idea to know where you're going to be doing the majority of your climbing. If you're climbing indoors, often you're standing on large holds. If you're standing on large holds, finding a shoe that has a large surface area with nice soft rubber, such as the Scarpa Veloce, is going to be really good. The other thing about this is that this shoe, it would be considered as pretty soft, meaning it bends easily at the midsole. And that's going to be really important for bending and standing on slabs to get lots of surface area on there. Other shoes, such as this one, have a large piece of rubber on top for things like toe hooking when you catch the edge of a rock with your toe. Some shoes, such as this one, you can tell are very asymmetrical and have almost a C shape to them. And this would be considered a very aggressive shoe because it directs all of the power into the tip of the shoe right here. This one I would consider pretty uncomfortable to wear and not a great beginner shoe. If you're pushing your limits in climbing, especially things like bouldering where the movements are really complicated, it's good to have a tight, aggressive pair of shoes with a nice fitting heel, toe, and toe rubber on top. A lot of shoes have lace-ups. Lace-ups are important because you can really get the perfect fit around your foot by starting at the very bottom and working your way up. Whereas Velcro shoes, often you just want to make sure that they fit really nice in the toe box area. The Velcro at the top is the only feature on the shoe that accommodates for a different fit. If I was doing some difficult bouldering and I knew I was going to be doing some toe hooking or heel hooking, I would probably choose a more aggressive shoe with a nice fitting heel cup and patch of toe, such as the Solution. The Solution has a nice patch of rubber right here on top and a good molded heel cup that I know isn't going to move on me. Whereas an equally aggressive shoe, but just a different style like this one, there's not as great of a patch of toe rubber and the laces might rip if I was toe hooking, and the heel here slips out. What these shoes are really good for is the sensitivity and soft toe rubber at the tip. A lot of people, when they first go climbing, ask if they can wear their hiking boots or Vibram 5-finger shoes or even go barefoot. No other shoe like a climbing shoe accommodates for the intricacies of movements that you will find on a rock. Hiking shoes and Vibram 5-finger shoes, they're gonna slide around a lot and you're not gonna have very good sensitivity in your foot. Going barefoot, some climbers do. However, it is very, very painful on your foot. And even then, stylistically, there's a limited number of climbs that you can do. There's a lot of discussion on the first climbing shoe a climber should own. A lot of the times it's hard to know exactly what you want until you've tried on many different pairs. At one point, what many people considered a beginner climbing shoe was a shoe that was pretty stiff and uncomfortable, didn't have any rubber on the heel, and overall was just a worse climbing shoe. They weren't very comfortable either. The Scarpa Veloce is, I think, a fantastic beginner shoe. It has a more wider and rounded toe box area, whereas compared to this other Scarpa shoe that comes to a distinct point and has a more narrow toe box. So it's really comfortable here, and it actually has heel on the rubber for heel hooking. And it's also a great climbing shoe for climbing indoors, which is where the majority of climbers are starting out. So something with nice sticky rubber and is very tight fitting without the heel slipping off is going to be great for a first-time climber who just wants to, put on their shoes and leave them on for a little bit and also test out lots of different climbs. These climbing shoes also have a nice Velcro strap, which makes it really easy for taking on and off while you're at the gym or out at the crag. The rock types in Iowa are very unique from a lot of places in the world. If I were choosing a shoe that would perform best in Iowa, I would want to make sure that the sensitivity in the toe is really good. There's not much slab climbing or toe hooking in Iowa, so I don't think a stiff shoe or anything with a big patch of toe rubber on top is all too important. I would say there's a pretty good amount of heel hooking and intricate footwork that you want to make sure your toe isn't sliding around in the toe box for. So something that comes to a pretty distinct point and has a good heel is going to be important. Make sure that your toes go to the very end of the shoe. If your toes don't go to the very end of the shoe, then the rubber on the tip of the shoe can bend backwards a little bit and you're more likely to slip off. So remember, climbing shoes are made only to perform really well on the rock and shouldn't be worn around all day. So right when you're done with your climb, take it off and allow your feet to breathe and put them back on when you're climbing.